and then your partner decided to brutally murder someone in front of you, you would go, oh my God.
On this week's GTA 6 o'clock, could a digital-only release be on the cards?
Yeah. Like, I can buy that Rockstar would launch potentially without a physical release.
Hidden Files reveal a new GTA 6 hint was originally planned to be called the Leonida. And what can Rockstar's next game learn from other open worlds?
What are you doing here?
Yeah.
Like, they remember the conversation. That's when it starts to get interesting.
It's all here on this week's GTA 6 o'clock. Hello and welcome to episode 108 of GTA 6 o'clock, the world's most in-depth and best connected GTA 6 show. I am your host, James JJ Jarvis. This over here is Dan DD Dawkins, and it is now less than 300 days until the release of GTA 6. We have come a long way, Dan, since the release of Trailer 1 back in December 2023, which is over 2 years ago. Did you know, by the way, that GTA 5's release is now closer to GTA 3 than it will be to GTA 6? How's that for some facts?
Yes, I did, because you just told me. I had to double think what that even meant. But that means that the gap between 3 and 5 is shorter than the gap between 5
and 6.
There's actually quite a lot of games in between those 2 points, aren't there?
Yeah, not just GTA games, of course, from Rockstar, but Red Dead's.
And you've got the San Andreases, the Vice Cities. That's a lot of release. Oh my God. But anyway, let's not dwell on that.
Let's not dwell on that. Because, of course, next week is everyone's favourite time of the year. Yes, it's time for another Take-Two investor call. That is taking place next Tuesday. As you listen to this show, we will, of course, have all the exciting info from that on next week's show. But this week, let's kick off with a topic that has been on everyone's lips: the digital launch of GTA 6. Now, one of those people that have been talking about this is Coel. Via email, they've got in touch and said, hope you're both doing well. I'm confident that you'll be covering the recent reports of GTA 6 not having a physical copy on day one. Great confidence in us there. You have been proven correct, because that is what we are going to do. I would like to hear both your opinions on whether you believe the reports are true. Do you think this will be a reaffirmation from Rockstar Games that the game will release in November? In addition, I'm also interested to hear what you think this could mean for PlayStation, who are rumoured to have secured marketing rights to the game. This would definitely be a miss if PlayStation cannot offer a bundle deal close to the holidays. Now, there are basically 3 parts to this question, so it's one question disguised, or 3 questions disguised as one.
Yes.
But firstly, for anyone who needs a little catch-up, this is referencing a report from a Polish website called PPE, who stated that sad news, this is a quote, sad news has reached ppe.pl editorial office from the trusted Grazzari.
I'll let you pronounce that word.
Great. Yes, Grazzari, I'm saying. A leaker who in the past has revealed the port of Microsoft Flight Simulator 2024 for PS5, the boxed version of Oblivion Remastered, and the release date of Sonic Racing Crossworlds for Nintendo Switch 2. This source, who handles video game sales in Europe, informed us that Grand Theft Auto 6 publisher Take-Two is currently not planning a physical release of Lucia and Jason's story, at least not for release due to possible story or gameplay leaks. According to initial unconfirmed reports, GTA 6 will first debut digitally on consoles, with a physical release only sometime later. The source doesn't know whether this will happen a few weeks after launch or only in the first half of 2027. The actual quote from the source is, "We're hearing more and more that the physical version won't be released simultaneously with the digital release to prevent leaks. We're getting conflicting reports. Some say the physical edition will arrive 3 to 4 weeks after the digital release, while others say it won't happen until early 2027. More information will be available in mid-February." That last line there just feels like a throwaway comment to, anticipate something coming in mid-February. Don't know what that means. But let's tackle the first three questions before we maybe discuss that point. So, the first part of this was I would like to hear both your opinions on whether you believe that this report is true. So let's dig into that. Do you think, I guess whether it's true or not, is there a possibility here that this could be a real thing that happens come the release of GTA 6?
And can I ask you a question before we
Yeah,
begin?
oh yes, a question with a question. Getting very
It's a
political
question
on this
about
week's
a
show.
question before we get into the three questions. The sources, there's the more verified source, am I correct to say, the Polish one, with that name that we've both pronounced really well.
Yes.
And then there's what an unverified source. Is that related to the original, the one that's sourced, or is this a separate rumor?
From my understanding, it has come from this singular source, but obviously it's like unverified because it's just someone going, I've got a source that's told me this.
And so do we think it's all coming from the, I'm going to say it, Rockstar rumor? Is it like all part of the same thing?
Yes.
Or is it that website is reporting we've got one source who's good and then an unverified chunk?
I think it's the one source, and other people have been reporting
Sure.
on it as this website has a source that has said this.
So I ask not to be a pedant or because I love these things, but I guess to address, we believe it's real? And do I trust this source? I don't know, because I've never heard of this source before. And without, I guess, double repping the previous leaks, what I would say is that's quite a disparate set of things to have had correct.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Like it's usually when you get leaks, it's somebody who's got a friend who works at a particular publisher or in a certain company. So somebody's like really good on leaks from, say, Nintendo or something, right? So to have somebody who's been right about, what did we say it was? It's a Microsoft Flight Simulator, the box version of, so you got a Microsoft game, a Bethesda game, and a Sega game. So there's no real obvious through line there, I don't think.
No, well, I guess the only thing is that I would suspect that these are physical release dates, right? So it's coming from a retail angle.
So that's what that's the bit I was coming to.
Oh,
Like,
sorry.
as a result, it's probably from that side. It makes more sense that this person works in physical box retail because the things they've been right about are all over the house.
Mm-hmm.
And what connects them is, like you say, presumably were physical releases. So this I think that lends some credibility to this, assuming those things aren't just made up, etc., etc. Again, I've not followed the provenance of this leaker. So assuming all of that is there, that's quite a good start. And, you know, in terms of the overall, do I believe this is true? Yeah. Like, I can buy that Rockstar would launch potentially without a physical release. We'll get into this in a minute. This wouldn't be completely unprecedented. And I think there's another reason why it's a thing they might consider. But, you know, I'll bounce it to you. What do you think?
Yeah, coming from the same ballpark, I think there is a very real possibility this could happen. Whether or not like this source is legitimate or not, it's something that I hadn't really considered until reading it, and then went, oh, I guess it makes sense. You know, like as I'm sure we'll get onto in a minute, but you know, digital sales of games are always on the up these days. It does slightly prevent some leaks from like early access to copies, retail versions going out early, people posting story spoilers, gameplay clips, etc., etc. It would mitigate against that somewhat. So I can see it happening. I can see it being definitely a discussion point that I'm sure has happened. Like what does it look like if we just release this digitally and then a few weeks later release it physically? I'm sure there's probably some maths in that to say maybe people would buy it twice. If we release it once and then 2 weeks later we release a box copy, we might get some more sales out of it because people just want the box copy. If I was being cynical.
Yeah.
You know, there is a world in which that can happen.
Again, more justification and more ways to split up already a multi-part question. Like, is this unprecedented? Of course not. We've seen increasingly over the years digital game sales becoming the primary delivery medium. That's just the way people roll. Like, we've got here PlayStation digital downloads generated approximately 83% of software and sales in Q1 2025. So start of last year, it was 83%. That's wild. Like, I remember when it was like 70% physical. Maybe I'm too old. PC gaming is even more staggering. Is this right? 99% of sales are digital.
I mean, these
I
are
believe it.
yeah, I can believe it. They are unverified numbers, but they're being scraped from the internet, and they don't seem outrageous. Like 83% digital sales of PlayStation, 99% like no one's buying boxed copies anymore. Some people are buying boxed copies.
Yeah,
1%
yeah.
of people on PC.
On PC, it's not a thing. Console, I think, is different. We talked about this on the show previously, where you still get the pillar releases like your Call of Duties, your FIFAs. Basically, what in the UK we like the supermarket games.
Yeah, your
They're
Christmas
the games
sales.
the games that go into Sainsbury's for UK listeners.
Yeah, but when it's someone's birthday
or Walmart or
Christmas,
wherever it is, depending on where you're based, right?
Yeah, and you're sending off member of the family. Johnny really wants FIFA.
And it's still a significant chunk. Even though it's only say 20 to 30% of total sales, you're talking of millions. So it's actually still quite a significant chunk. So like you say, it's not a market they'd want to not pursue. But yeah, digital's the preeminent medium. There's also a side of this of like there's the physical copy, and then there's the physical copy enhanced editions, and this. This is such a multi-part question, right? Like in terms of digital game releases, like we've talked about here, there's been some very high profile digital only releases. In the PC space, of course, you've got like Hollow Knight, Silksong, games like that make total sense. But like we say, PC is just a digital market. In the console space, even quite recently, maybe the most notable digital only release, certainly at the start of its life, was Alan Wake 2. I don't know if you can remember that. So Alan Wake 2 was digital only. Hellblade 2 Senua's Sacrifice was a digital only to begin with. Now, and they're games that live more in the console world and are traditional AAAs, right? So it was I think it was remarkable when Alan Wake 2 was, it's digital only. What? Now, to go a bit further behind the curtain, like I'm reasonably chummy with someone who's quite senior at Remedy, who basically said to me, yes, it's digital only, and part of the reason that is, I mean, truthfully, they were still working on that game up until, and I won't say it out loud, maybe it's not for me to share, but an astonishing amount of time close to the release.
Yeah, well, if it's digital, you just day one patch it, and you can release that patch hours before you're meant to launch that game if you wanted.
But that blew me away, the idea that a AAA game would launch and people having worked on it, as I say, a staggering amount of time closer to when it actually, like when you finish your homework and do whatever you do with it, or put it through the letterbox. It was that close, and that was mind-blowing. Now, I'm not saying Rockstar want to work on GTA up to 10 minutes until its launch, but I dare say it would be advantageous to them to go, we can still hit the date, but if we commit to a digital release, like when you commit to a physical release, like the mastering process and the sheer act of distribution is like weeks to months, possibly up to like 2 months before the release of a game. So then that would mean they'd have to lock GTA in November, October, what's that, September?
And having those copies in the world is a problem. Like, not for financial reasons, but in terms of leaks. If there was, let's say, a physical copy of GTA 6 floating around in October on its way to a shop, I would bet my Red Dead Redemption 2 horse that something from that game is leaking. There is no way somebody isn't taking one of those copies home and putting it in their PlayStation and just recording some footage.
And that's it. Because even though that's a guaranteed you're going to get fired and lose your job, this is one of the rare occasions where it's worth taking the swing, probably. And we think back to even the GTA trailer launches. I mean, look, back to the start of the game. someone went far enough in to infiltrate the Slack forums and steal a load of videos. Incredible leak. Trailer 2, incredible leak, stolen out of the YouTube backend, it sounds like. So, like, could someone get a physical copy and go, do you know what? I don't need this job at the distribution plant. Sure. And then it's not only is it the disc that potentially goes out into the wild, it's the box shot, it's the rear cover, it's the whatever, manuals aren't what they used to be, but there's going to be, even if that got into the wild, like I've seen the manual and it's got all these things about controls, it's a massive leak. So I think it's two of those things. I think part of it will be the attraction of being able to work on the game later and squash bugs up to the last minute. And then the other side would be exactly what you said. Like, they haven't got to worry so much about things going out in the wild.
And I think what is clear to me is if that does happen, we are still getting special edition, collector's edition boxes, because even, Red Dead didn't come with the game. That was it's a separate thing. You can buy the collector's edition. It has a steelbook in it and a load of other collector stuff. You don't get the game. So they could still release on day one a special edition, a premium edition, a collector's edition in retail things that just doesn't have the game in it, because there is more than enough precedent for that, where you just buy a collector's edition and then you buy the digital version of the game. Or there's a digital download code within the collector's edition, which you then just redeem on the storefront that you want.
Yeah, I was going to ask that, because I would feel like, say I stumped up an awful lot of money for the Ultimate Edition, I'd still like to be able to play it on the day of release.
Well, you can. You just have to buy.
Yeah, but that's really naughty. Well. That's what I mean. That is naughty, though. Like, that's the thing. I feel like, yeah, great for them. Like, people buy the digital edition, then they have to stump up for the full edition. But I wonder if, I'm not saying this will happen, but is there precedent for, or would it be a good idea if they could give you the digital code in advance, and then don't worry, your inflatable crocodile is coming in the post? Like, I don't think that's a thing. Have games done that? Maybe I should, be better researched here. But
no,
I think,
they do come with codes in the box.
Yes,
on occasion. So you could buy the all bells and whistles
I see what
version.
You mean. Yeah. So you're not getting a physical disc. You are
just getting a bit of
with
cardboard
that's
a code on it.
Yeah, that's fine, but also slightly risky, because the act of producing and sharing a physical box with the crocodile and blah 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 blah, and like they've done in the past, like giant maps, right?
Yes.
Like, if a giant map's in the collector's box and someone's got it. Now, the thing I will say with collector's editions is, it is a bit easier to close the loop on them, because you're not selling so many of them, because they're so expensive. So maybe Rockstar could go, like we've talked about with security on a previous episode, they're all coming out of one factory, two factories, and they're guarded like something from Mission Impossible. And that way you might have more confidence. But when you've got global distribution of a physical disc, I think it's harder to not regionalize that to third parties and to go, we're sending it to Germany's biggest plant, to France's, to like wherever else it is, right?
Yeah.
I think then it's harder to get that obsessive control over who's seen it, who signed it out. And like we talked about, Rockstar were always good at this. Even back in the days of the disc, they would almost get people to sign in blood, and every section of the journey from taxi to bus to whatever it would be playing was watched, documented. You couldn't be part of that chain and not physically exist, like be part of something they were viewing. But it's risk, though. It's risk.
Yeah, I'm sure there are countermeasures that they can put in place here. Like, they would have thought about all these things. If we are going to send it to retail, let's release the cover art and the back of the box ourselves beforehand. We always get images of what's inside the collector's editions before those editions go out.
Of course. That's why you buy them, because you know what's coming. But there's a difference between, like, it's the rolled up map versus here it is, and all the secret locations are marked on it, or whatever it is. That's the stuff you wouldn't want out in the wild.
No, and I guess once, even once day one hits, that is basically carte blanche on, because people are going to post that. I bought the collector's edition. Yeah. Here's the map.
Here it is, and then yes, exactly it. The minute it's out there, well, that's with every game, because of the way the internet works now. The minute something happens, it's almost over.
Yeah.
Because people are just on the starting line going, I'm going to make it my life's mission to find every magpie, hidden, whatever. There's no waiting around.
That will definitely be my mission, to go and find all the magpies in.
Rather than play the story.
Yeah, and just go and explore the world and find all that. Well, it won't be magpies, will it? It'll be crocodiles or some kind of.
But that's it.
little
Whether, if
ornament.
you're a YouTuber or you work for a big website, either you or you assign someone on your team to do every single molecular activity.
Yeah.
And that's it. And then as a result, the world collectively knows everything within about 24 hours.
So to bring this back around, then, I think we're saying we believe these reports could be true. Like, there is precedent for this happening. Like, even if the report isn't true, the actual act of GTA 6 being digital only at launch is a very feasible possibility.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, I agree.
So the moving quickly on to the next question, is this reaffirmation of Rockstar Games that the game will release in November? I think this is a pretty easy no. Like, it doesn't matter if they're considering doing it physical or digital, that date can still move. Would I like it to be a reaffirmation that the game is coming in November? Yes. But I think all of these plans can change right up until, well, like you say, if they're not doing anything physically, they can change right up until a month, say, before that date, maybe even weeks. I would be very surprised if we got to October and everyone was still saying November 19th and then it moved.
Oh yeah.
But you never know.
That would be a real bolt from the blue. And I think that obviously, if we don't really know, even if we can trust the source, we don't know what the source has seen. If, say, the source was looking at a manifest that said, it goes into this level of production on this date and this and this and this, it would suggest they've thought it through. But even that wouldn't mean it can't shift until they started printing the copies. Even then, they could maybe say, well, they wouldn't get to that stage unless they were happy with the game, right?
No. Yeah.
So there must be some confidence. But we don't know enough about the source. So, unfortunately, I'd love to believe it's a guarantee. I don't think it is.
Maybe we'll hear more next week in the investors' call. We probably won't. But hey, we can all hope. And finally, what do you think this could mean for PlayStation? Rumored to have the marketing rights. It would be a miss if they can't offer a bundle deal close to the holidays.
Yeah.
I think everything we've discussed, it still means that they can offer that bundle deal for the holidays. It would just be like a couple of weeks later. Like, I don't see that releasing it digitally only for, let's say it was a 2-week window up until December the 1st. If December the 1st, you're then getting your PS5 bundles with GTA 6 for Christmas, I don't think that really hurts them that much. Still get the digital sales revenue from all the PlayStation Store downloads. You just have to wait to get your PS5 console with the game. I think there's a world in which that works.
Yeah, and what Sony, all they want really is the ability to have the PlayStation box with the GTA logo on it. That's all they want. To go, if you want to play this, you buy this.
Yeah.
And then that's their passport to making lots of money.
Right then, so let's move on from that debate and pick up on a new piece of evidence surrounding hints to GTA 6 that may have been planned for the inclusion in Red Dead Redemption 2. Now, this is only going to be, I think, quite a small bit of this episode because there's not a lot to talk about here. This didn't actually make it to the final game, but a discovery by Soneka Speedruns has revealed a partially unused boat texture in the Red Dead Redemption 2 game files that reveals a ship was originally planned to be called the Leonida.
Mm-hmm.
So the suggestion is Rockstar might have initially planned to tease GTA 6 in Red Dead Redemption 2 by calling one of the boats in the game the Leonida or the Leonida. Other unused ship names in the same document are the Emily Bell and the Moses T. Prescott. I had a quick look around both of those names and couldn't actually find anything that related to those people around the time of Red Dead setting or anything that would suggest why the boat might be named after those two people. But if you have any thoughts, let us know in the comments below. So this could just be a suggestion from 7 or 8 years ago
Mm.
that was originally going to be in the game and for some reason was taken out. Could they have taken it out because they suspected it was a little too close? Like, it was too much of a hint. If you call a boat the Leonida and people look up that name for some reason, there's a fairly easy connection to push that back to Florida and therefore maybe Vice City. So it could have been a suggestion that the next GTA game is going to be set in Vice City 7 years ago. Would have been like a big story at the time, probably. But again, would have been an unconfirmed rumor. It would have been speculation from the community to go, well, that boat was called Leonida. Maybe that means it's being set in Florida, therefore Vice City for GTA 6. It's just a fun little discovery, I think. Why would people make that connection? Well, San Andreas, obviously named after a San Andreas fault line. And apparently the developers of Rockstar North named Florida Leonida after the Spaniard who discovered Florida. His name was Juan Ponce de Leon, and I think they've just taken his last name, Leon, and gone Florida Leonida. We'll just name it after that. So I think that was the connection that people might have been able to make once they had discovered a boat was called Leonida. Who knows? Because that didn't happen, and we didn't get any of those speculations because this game file has only just been discovered. I imagine the reason it's only just been discovered now is because people are still hunting around for the spiderweb stuff, which, by the way, is still kind of unsolved / maybe just solved. Like, if you follow, there's been a few more steps, and if you follow the rest of the steps, you end up at a lake, and you can look up to a mountainside that has a big giant question mark on the mountainside, which is out of the map boundary.
Okay.
So all you're seeing is a massive question mark. What does that mean? Is it just another mystery that doesn't lead anywhere? Who knows? But that seems to currently be the end of that whole thing. Yeah, it's underwhelming.
But we know that Rockstar do that. They put in wild goose chases that don't necessarily have a resolution. So, okay, it's the fun of the journey, isn't it? Not the destination, I guess.
Well, I'd like the destination to be at least a little bit
fun. As would I, and as I felt very strongly when we were doing the
Mount Chiliad.
Yeah, Mount Chiliad mystery. I wanted that to go somewhere. Maybe not in the way it actually did. And as for this, I think it's a cute thing that I think probably looks more deliberate with the benefit of hindsight than it would have done had we discovered it at the time. I don't think we'd have had the lens to make it as obvious.
No.
To go, oh yeah, it's obviously that because we know it's Leonida. I think if we didn't know it was Leonida, it's suddenly a much harder puzzle to wrap your head around. And assuming that's even what they meant, right?
Okay, something else that caught my eye this week was actually last week's Xbox Developer Direct, where they showed off more of Fable. But this is a GTA 6 show. Why are we talking about another open world game, I hear you ask?
Oh, it's a question for me.
I'm waiting to hear you ask.
Because I would say, because open world games are open world games, right?
Okay.
I think everybody learns, they might pretend they're not going to, you learn from the other open world games in the genre. And I remember even going back to GTA 5 and thinking, wow, this has redefined the nature of an open world. Then I played Metal Gear Solid 5 and was like, actually, this makes, I think I wrote this, it makes GTA 5 look like a baby's game in terms of the interaction, right? At the depth of interaction. Then you get a game like Zelda Breath of the Wild, and you go, wow, this has changed the rules of engagement in a different way. So GTA 6 is entering an environment that's been informed by all of these games. And then from looking at Fable, maybe more interesting parameters for GTA to consider.
Yeah, what I was hoping is you were just going to ask me why we were talking about another open world game.
No, I launched into a giant soliloquy. Sorry.
But if you were to ask me...
Yeah, I'm asking you now.
Why we were talking about another open world game, I would say because some of the things that they revealed in that Fable presentation were actually very interesting and might inform us how the world of GTA 6 could work, given the kind of things that they're doing in Fable. Now, Fable was branded as having a living population. It's obviously something we've talked about quite a lot on the show, of how NPCs are going to interact with Jason and Lucia and any of the other characters within the world. In Fable, they have living NPCs, and there are about 1,000 of them, they say, which sounds like a pretty big number. Now, it's a huge world, of course, but even if there were 100 NPCs in every region, or expand this to GTA 6, 100 NPCs in every city or every area you go to, you can have 10 of those areas, and 100 is a reasonable amount of people to be walking around doing stuff. I think it would feel alive enough, and maybe Rockstar are trying to expand on that and have more than 1,000. Now, these 1,000 people, you can have fully voiced conversations with these NPCs. So you would go up to them and say whatever you want. They would respond. Now, I don't think they're like very in-depth conversations. I think it's very much like, how are you doing? And they either say, doing great, thanks, or I'm having a terrible time. And that counts as a conversation. But it just adds to the world. One of the most interesting things is these NPCs have persistent daily routines. So you can follow anyone that you want around and watch them do things. Like, they get up, they go to work, they finish work, they go and have a drink at a tavern, and then they go home to bed. It's the kind of thing I remember talking about when we were doing GTA 5 o'clock, of going, wouldn't it be cool just to be able to follow somebody home and see what they're doing?
GTA 5 o'clock, yeah.
And you can do that in Red Dead 2. People do have those kind of routines where they will get up, go to the saloon, drink all day, go home, like that kind of thing. You can follow people around, but their routines are like fairly rigid. Like, they don't go that far away. Whereas you would think in GTA 6, people might be getting in cars, driving to a different city or a different village or whatever, and I would hope, be able to follow those people, see what jobs they're doing, and they get to come back home again. Then you could, I don't think it has any gameplay benefits, but it's just a good way to build that world.
Yeah, it's immersion, isn't it? And that's been the holy grail, I think, for all open world games, is creating a sense of like interrelated causal reality. That's hard to do. And I think the games have, as a result, just gone down the smoke and mirrors route, which is good enough, largely because most of the time you're running past them holding a machine gun, not looking to stop and chat to them. But you want to get, like you say, if there's, even if what you want to get to the point is of like talking to someone on Miami Beach, then you bump into them somewhere else on the map and they're like, oh, what are you doing here?
Yeah.
Like, they remember the conversation. That's when it starts to get interesting.
Yeah, and I think that's the kind of thing that we're seeing in the description of Fable. Now, I don't think the Rockstar devs are going to look at this and go, oh, these guys are doing this, we're going to have to rip up the rulebook and do it differently. I think they're already going down these paths.
Yeah.
The good thing here is that it's an indication that all of this stuff is possible. They're doing it in other open world games that are supposedly coming out this year. So anything that we've talked about feels more realistic now to me. Like, I was, thinking, 1,000 NPCs fully voiced, having personalities. Like, these people will have different likes and dislikes, and you can interact with them in different ways depending on what they like and dislike. Some of that thing feels like crazy talk, but I think now it's going to end up in games that we're going to see this year, and hopefully when GTA 6 comes out, it will have similar things in it. There is reputation in Fable that is affected by what you do in the world, and each character will have their own opinion of you. Again, something we've seen in previous Rockstar games. Red Dead, a lot of the people in there will react to you differently depending on if you've done a load of crime, or if you've previously been to the town and shot everyone. You're not allowed in some of the saloons and that kind of thing. It's just another level of stepping all of these things up. Some of these NPCs like praise you or scold you or mention things that you did. Apparently they'll catcall you, and shop prices will be affected depending on what you've done within the world.
Okay.
So all of that stuff, you can imagine walking past, like you say, you're on Miami Beach, you walk past someone and they're like, hey, you drove that car into a shop yesterday. I wasn't cool, man. Or whatever. Hopefully it's just a lot more of a living, breathing world where people remember things that you have done and comment on it. And I guess there's going to be like so many different permutations of that in a GTA game. And Fable. Like they talked about having a giant. There's a giant in Fable. Richard Ayoade, who's a famous British comedian, is in the game. He turns into a big giant. He walks around, and you have a choice. You can either, I think, kill him at some point in the story, or try and help him out and either shrink him back down to not being a giant or like send him away somewhere else.
Yeah.
If you kill him, he just basically dies in the village, like on top of a grassy knoll, and will just stay there for the rest of the game. So it's those kind of like world affecting decisions that are going to remain persistent in Fable. And I would be shocked if things like that didn't happen in GTA 6. Like you make a choice that is then it's permanently reflected throughout the rest of your game. Obviously, that's a 50-50 choice. Players will either decide to do one thing or the other and have a slightly different experience depending on whether you've decided to let him die on the grassy knoll or carry on wandering around the world. The GTA 6 version of that is, I don't know, like robbing a place or not, or helping to construct a bridge or something. Like, I don't know why you'd be helping to construct a bridge as Jason or Lucia, but it's, that kind of thing. Or, choosing to tackle a mission one way or the other. Like you can either destroy this building, which will then take resources away from this place, and they'll then have to rebuild that building, or you can do it a different way. But if you destroy the building, for the rest of the game, that building is going to be being repaired or blown up. It's those kind of things that I'm quite excited about happening in GTA 6.
Yeah, and you're right. Like, obviously, GTA 6 won't copy what Fable's doing. I mean, these developments are happening simultaneously, but they will both be tackling the same problems with different solutions, I guess. And there's the biggest, maybe not problem, but opportunity in open world is the idea that they're not just NPCs. I think, like in terms of immersion and interaction with geography, games like us that talked about Breath of the Wild, that the ability to clamber and scale anything and have a stamina bar and have like your sense of like the tactile nature of the world and the way you could interact was really raised by games like Zelda. And then if you look at the way the sequel then made it all basically a physics sandbox, which is a thing that, again, GTA does a bit with the cars and the stunts and all that stuff, but there's levels to that on the pure tactility level and the way your objects interact with other objects, the way you shoot things, the way they interact, the way explosions change the world. That's part of it. The forbidden land, the amazing bit, would be NPCs that can dupe you into having passable human behavior. And it could be things from, let's say, in a mission, like you say, you crash a car off a pier and your car sinks. There's a way to trick the next interaction. So you talk to someone who goes, aren't you that guy who drove the car off the pier? But there might be a difference between almost like a world event that every NPC gets told has happened and they've got a stock response versus there were 5 NPCs who actually saw it and they're the ones who know because they were there. And like they've got individual memories. That's insane, right? But that degree of trickery is what would take the game to the next level.
And would very much play into the trust mechanic of actually there's a select group of people who did actually see this thing happen, and everything else spilling out from that is word of mouth. Like, oh, I spoke to Barry who was there and he said this, and then that person goes off and tells somebody else, and the story, imagine this, starts to get misconstrued as it filters down through more and more people. So you actually end up with a village, let's say, of people that saw a UFO, and that once you're into Vice City, they're talking about, oh, did you see, like, Godzilla appeared in that village down there, and somehow the UFO has become Godzilla, and you have to then try and trace the source back to, oh no, they were actually talking about when these people saw that one thing that happened. That would be mind-blowing but very cool.
Even at the level of like Jason and Lucia's relationship, we talked last week about the dual protagonist system. If you could almost like hide if you physically hid what you did from the other character who's alongside you, they might not know, which could be anything from, typing in a keypad number and covering your fingers, or, that's not like a mechanic, but you know what I mean? Or like you shoot a person, if the other person doesn't see it, they don't know it happened.
Yeah.
And there's you can hard code that into the mission script, or make it a thing that's observable by, the other NPC, as in the other lead character. That would be really interesting.
Yeah, and it leads you then to choices of telling, at the end of the mission, Lucia goes to Jason, oh, what happened to Carla? And you can either say, I don't know, or she's dead, or I killed her. And then there's like 3 different parameters to what you're telling the other character at the time. Like, that could be a really interesting thing.
Yeah, or like, killing someone. Like in real life, where you would go on a mission with someone and you went, we're going to go stealth, and then your partner decided to brutally murder someone in front of you, you would go, oh my God, this person's a maniac.
Yeah.
Like, I can't trust them.
Or even if it wasn't in front of you, like you went off with somebody and came back and they were dead.
Yeah.
You could either, and let's say you would shot them, but you could say, oh, they got caught in the crossfire. One of the police officers killed them.
Yes.
And then that starts to build a web of lies that you...
Yeah.
And imagine you having, as a player, to remember that web of lies later on in the game. So it gets referenced back to be like, oh, by the way, what did happen to Carla? And you're like, did I actually shoot her, or was that the police?
Yeah, or like if you got, for example, absolutely covered in blood. Now, this is a bit Hitman, but the idea of like if in real life, say you walked away for 5 minutes from this call, came back and sat down covered in blood, I might say, holy smokes, why are you covered in blood? That's in real life, that's what you do. And I'd be like, I think something crazy has happened.
Yeah, and actually I would say, I fell down the stairs. Don't worry about it.
And got covered in my own blood.
Yeah, it's all mine. Don't worry.
I'm completely covered in my own blood. But like, characters normally don't react to that type of thing, is what I'm saying. Is like they don't see the thing that physically has changed. But if as we've seen with GTA, you can grow a beard. If characters can actually observe the physical changes of the other character in a real way, that changes the dynamic as well.
Yeah, loads of really interesting things to be gleaned from that. If you haven't seen it, I would recommend that you do go and watch that Fable developer presentation piece. It is quite interesting and does start to make you think about what could be possible for GTA 6. We are going to wrap up the show this week. That is episode 108 in the can. Thank you all for your comments last week. Quick apology about the quality of the video and the audio from last week. That should be fixed. Producer Nathan has been fired. He's not been told about that yet. He's finding out about that just right now. He hasn't been fired. Don't worry, Nathan. You're fine.
When he appears covered in blood and I notice
it. It's because he didn't produce the podcast to the quality levels we needed. But that was a technical glitch. Everything should be back for this week. Please let us know in the comments below if it isn't. Thank you to all the listeners on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. Please give us a rating, and if you are listening on there, pop over to YouTube, say hi in the comments. You can also get in touch on Twitter, GTAVOclock, or via email, gtavoclock@gmail.com. And if you'd like a lovely summary of this episode and anything else that happens throughout the week, you can sign up to our newsletter, gamesradar.com/newsletter. Click on the GTA 6 icon. As I say, that is it for this week. Thank you, Dan. We will be back next week for another episode of GTA 6 O'Clock.